Most difficult of all with A plus W times C equals I divided by capital I, parentheses around C, has to do with a system called psychology, with processes called thugs and gangsters and veterans, anarchists and Antifa soldiers and warriors with anarchy and death as their goal. To have less fascists, they say, a word they require to be dead and gone from anyone who dares defy their behavioral rules they call a code of honor and blood with a knife they cut your throat with. When consciousness, a stimulation described with psychiatry and prescriptions given out in clinics where men keep women from being feminists, and those gender neutral humans talk about a mystery nobody has solved and a secret and a gift that religion provides with a book they share with their victim. In other words, psychology and social workers and counselors, therapists who are psychiatrists prescribing antidepressants, handing out lithium and Depakote to go with some Zoloft and some olanzapine, are using emotion similar to someone who has a pet dog, a monkey in a cage, a lion they feed their scraps from dinner to in a zoo they have in their backyard. And now socialism to increase the intensity and duration of processes in a system Hitler used when he gassed Jews in a Holocaust and starved them to death and dying, feeding them body parts undoubtedly, and conquering those with brutality and violence, similar to those politician activists and their red shirts, those gang members and their signs they have with their Lacanian self. They minimize with their drugs they give to an ego they feed. They make dark and gone, along with the energy they give with their bodies and their gestures and their postures and their power now. And when the light shines, they say, be the light. And get rid of the sirens so everyone has awareness and nobody needs to eat. Everybody has money and nobody needs to visit a park, to see birds and wildlife. And most of all we need are pictures and art, colors, and psychedelic drugs, and cannabis oils, so that when those needles and those crystals on those meths stop feeding a mouth served by a devil they worship, with a candle they burn, and light, to have a darkness no more, they say, has gotten to be much, much, much too racist and ill-advised in a world where there's so much to buy and so little to earn, and so there's no longer a red, there's no longer a white, there's no longer a blue, and a poet only arrives from Africa on a boat in a plane where those white people no longer have the freedom declared now as a racist, ill-advised, experimental thought. Foucault and Gramsci solved in prison notebooks and Benjamin's arcade just before he killed himself from suicide. Similar to a rope and a noose around my neck and a tree where my body finally leaves this scorched earth that Frantz Fanon calls wretched. And my neighbors call 911 to sigh for their men to show up with their guns and their big fists, handfuls of cigarettes and bottles of liquor to soothe their hearts and their emotions, exceeding the limits that they have all agreed make the most sense for wisdom and elders to speak so eloquently and brilliantly. They are called intelligence services, trench coat wearing mafia spokespersons for Mr. President Joe Biden and the Democrats and the socialists and the communists and those far right extremists who have a plan to dominate and succeed with a goal they call a word, a thought, a description, a vision, a painting, a musical song. Lady Gaga sings and everyone goes, yay. And then J-Lo says, let all those immigrants in now. We're all gonna be best buddies and friends. Burritos and tacos for everyone. Philosophy and theory and logic and dominance and gay marriage now. Living on an object in outer space has no more benefit than burning a candle and waiting for food to stop, waiting to starve and die from thirst. All to have free money, hallucinations and psychedelic drugs legalized, and some Chinese plastic fake wood dresser to store some black clothes to not get mugged and killed, beaten and assaulted for not saying the correct words in the correct order at the correct time, designated with the minutes and seconds of all of the synchronization of a simulation and video game everyone plays on their laptops and computers, cell phones and iPhones and Samsung Galaxies. where they log in to their persona they call an avatar, where they're beautiful and pretty, they're rich and powerful, and they're famous and heard with their posts and their psychic abilities to digest an imaginary donut they got from a vegan bakery where they sell vegetarian lard made from a cell that someone cultured in a lab next to Wuhan, where the coronavirus began as when it ended now. Humans play games. They get a chessboard, and the men, those big, strong, powerful, dominant humans, sit next to their elegant, beautiful, and pretty women who are gender neutral. And they defeat their enemies. They win their battles. They celebrate their victories with bacon in their pans, yells in their hallways where they rent a room in a house next to some stupid fool they say is an idiot who's smart and lives in an apartment studio next to them in their pyramid castle where they are kings and queens, and they don't understand why someone would put a United States Navy sticker on a door to say, "Don't tread on me, motherfucker. Kick, kick, kick your ass off the roof and die, motherfucker. Die, 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 you fucking bitch. Die. Call her a bitch somewhere else and go have sex with some baby in some stroller down the street where they don't carve you out of a statue and make you infinity, bronze, steel, and metal. And in need of some treatment for your problem you have, you say you can't solve. Because it's too difficult, it's too hard. And you need to see aliens and UFOs instead now. Armies go shoot machine guns. Soldiers die on battlefields bleeding to death and dying from knife wounds from bayonets. And eventually, a loud boom and a bang from someone who's spying, who's tracking, who's monitoring, who's been declared martial law. Capital L, capital AW. A sheriff not called, sanctioned, but paid to make sounds when there's attention, confusion when there's awareness, to have an hallucination about, a focus and concentration they have about what they read on an internet website from some conspiracy someone said was why we lost Vietnam, why we died to stop communism and China from killing a monk who's Buddhist and Zen and who Dr. Martin Luther King called a friend. Now,